Honestly, I don't even know where to start. My name is Sarah, and for 38 years, I lived a double life. If you looked at my childhood photos, you'd see a family of four: my parents, my sister Rachel, and me. But if you looked closer, you'd notice I'm always the one slightly out of focus, standing 2 inches further away from the group, wearing the hand-me-downs that Rachel had already stained with juice. I grew up in a suburb outside of Detroit. On the outside, it was a nice white picket fence kind of life, but inside that house, it was a cult, and my sister Rachel was the goddess we all had to worship. Rachel was born 2 months premature, and that became the defining theme of our entire lives. My parents, Mark and Diane, didn't just protect her, they built a fortress around her, and in that fortress, there was no room for me. I remember my 7th birthday vividly. I had been begging for a bike, just a simple one from Walmart. My parents told me we couldn't afford it because Rachel's special asthma-friendly air purifiers cost a fortune. But then, 2 weeks later, Rachel wanted a professional-grade flute. They didn't blink. They put it on a credit card and threw her a mini concert party. I spent my birthday at my Grandma Marie's house because the excitement of a party might trigger Rachel's breathing. That was my life. I was a biohazard. I was too loud, too energetic, or too demanding. If I brought home a trophy from the debate team, it was shoved into a kitchen drawer because Rachel had a headache. If I got a fever, I was sent to Aunt Kelly's basement so I wouldn't contaminate the golden child. But here's the thing about being ignored. You learn to watch, you learn to listen, and most importantly, you learn to survive on your own. Grandma Marie was my only ally. She was this sharp-tongued, elegant woman who had been a jeweler in her younger days. While my parents were busy nebulizing Rachel for the 3rd time in a day, Grandma would sit me down and teach me about the fire in a diamond, the weight of real 18K gold, and how to spot a fake from a mile away. "Sarah, honey," she'd say, "the world will try to make you feel small, but gold? Gold is forged in pressure. Remember that." By high school, I was a ghost. I'd wake up at 5 a.m., work a paper route, go to school, and then work a shift at a local diner until 10 p.m. My parents barely knew I existed. They didn't ask where I was. As long as I wasn't in Rachel's way, they were happy. I started buying vintage jewelry from thrift stores with my tip money. Ugly, tarnished pieces that everyone thought were trash, but I had Grandma's eye. I'd clean them, fix the clasps, and sell them on this new site called eBay. By the time I graduated high school, I had $15,000 hidden in a bank account my parents didn't know about. The day I left for Michigan State, my parents didn't even help me pack. Rachel had anxiety about her upcoming prom, so they were at the boutique getting her a $1,200 dress. I loaded my beat-up 1998 Honda Civic, which I bought myself, and drove away in tears. I remember looking in the rearview mirror at our house, thinking, I'm never coming back as the girl you ignored. College was a grind. While my friends were out partying, I was in my dorm room with a jeweler's loupe and a laptop. I started the Gem Vault, a small online consulting business. I'd help people identify if their family heirlooms were real. By junior year, I wasn't just identifying jewelry, I was buying and selling entire estates. I'll never forget the first time I made $50,000 in a single week. I found a rare Victorian mourning brooch at an estate sale in Ohio for $200. I knew exactly what it was. I flew to New York, met a private collector, and walked out with a wire transfer that changed my life. But did I tell my parents? No. Every time I called home, the conversation was 100% about Rachel. Rachel's new job that Dad had to pull strings for, Rachel's apartment that Mom was paying the rent for, Rachel's stress. "How are you, dear?" Mom would ask, usually right as she was hanging up. "I'm fine, Mom, just working at the, antique shop." "That's nice, dear. Anyway, Rachel needs us to go over and help her assemble a bookshelf. Talk soon." I leaned into it. I played the part of the struggling, dusty antique girl. I wore old sweaters from Goodwill when I visited. I drove my old Honda long after I could afford a Ferrari. I wanted to see how far their neglect went. By age 30, my firm, SM Authentications, was the go-to for high-end auction houses in New York and London. I had a penthouse in downtown Detroit, a summer home in the Hamptons, and a staff of 12. My net worth was north of $20 million. And then I did something crazy. I started an anonymous trust fund. I called it the Marie Legacy. Every month, I had my lawyers send my parents a check for $7,000. I attached a letter saying it was from a distant relative's estate that had finally cleared probate. I watched from the sidelines as they used my money to fund Rachel's lifestyle. They bought her a house, they paid off her credit cards, they took her on vacations to Maui. They never once wondered where the money actually came from. They just assumed they were blessed. I'd sit at Sunday dinner listening to Rachel brag about her new Mercedes that I basically bought her, while she mocked my faded jeans. "You know, Sarah," Rachel said once, swirling a glass of expensive Napa wine, also bought with my money, "if you just worked a little harder, maybe you could afford a car that sounds like a lawnmower. It's about ambition, sweetie." My mom chimed in, "Now, Rachel, don't tease your sister. Not everyone can be a high achiever like you. Sarah is happy with her little hobbies." I just smiled and took a bite of my potatoes. Little did they know, I'd just signed a contract to authenticate the jewels for a royal wedding in Europe. But the pressure was building. The lie was getting too big. And as Grandma Marie always said, pressure either creates a diamond or it causes an explosion. The explosion happened on Thanksgiving. And believe me when I say no one saw it coming.
You know, looking back, I should have seen it coming. I really should have. But there's a part of you, no matter how successful or rich you get, that still wants your mom to look at you and say, "I'm proud of you, Sarah." Just once. It was Thanksgiving, 2 years ago. I decided to host it at my modest apartment, or so they thought. I actually rented a high-end Airbnb in a historic Detroit building that looked nice but relatable. I spent $15,000 on private catering, but told them I'd stayed up all night cooking. I even hid my expensive art and replaced it with generic prints from Target. I was still playing the game, still protecting their fragile egos. The whole clan was there. My parents, Rachel, Aunt Kelly, and a few cousins. From the moment they walked in, the vibe was off. Rachel had just lost her coordinator job, which, let's be honest, she barely worked at anyway, and she was in a foul mood. Sarah, how many stairs are in this building?" Rachel complained, dropping her designer bag, bought with my trust fund money, on my floor. "And it smells like, what is that, saffron? A bit pretentious for a Thanksgiving dinner, don't you think?" My mom hugged her immediately. "Oh, honey, don't let it bother you. Sarah's just trying to be fancy. We know she's probably been saving her tips for 6 months to buy this turkey." I just took a sip of my water and smiled. "Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Mom." Dinner was a masterclass in gaslighting. I sat there serving them 24-karat gold-infused gravy, which they thought was just yellowish butter, listening to them discuss their upcoming trip to Switzerland. "We're so lucky that distant relative left us that Marie Legacy Fund," my dad said, clinking his glass against Rachel's. "It's allowed us to really give Rachel the life she deserves while she finds herself after that unfair layoff." "Must be nice," I muttered under my breath. "Excuse me?" Rachel snapped. "Did the little antique girl say something? Are you jealous, Sarah? Is that it? Look, I get it. Not everyone is meant for the high life. Some people are just meant to sort through old people's trash for a living." The whole clan laughed. My parents laughed. My own mother patted Rachel's hand and said, "Now, Rachel, someone has to do the dirty work. We can't all be stars." That was the first crack in my armor. But the real break happened after dessert. I had a massive deal closing in Hong Kong, a set of emeralds that were once owned by a Russian czarina. The buyer was impatient and I needed to verify the final wire transfer. I slipped into the guest bedroom and opened my laptop. It was a top-of-the-line, custom-built machine, but I had a plain plastic skin on it to make it look cheap. I stepped out for 2 minutes to grab a coffee. That was my mistake. When I walked back toward the living room, I didn't hear the usual chatter. I heard Rachel's voice, high and mocking, reading something out loud. Subject: Forbes 20 Under 40 Profile Draft. Sarah M. Wait, what? I froze. I rounded the corner, and there she was. Rachel was standing in the middle of the living room, holding my laptop like a trophy. My parents and cousins were huddled around her. Sarah, what is this? Rachel hissed, her face turning a strange shade of purple. Is this some kind of sick joke? Some fan fiction you're writing about yourself? I walked over and calmly tried to take my laptop back. Rachel, give it to me. It's private work. She pulled it away, her eyes wild. Private work? This is a bank statement, Sarah. I saw the numbers. It says there's $12 million in a liquid account. And why is your face on a Forbes mock-up? The room went silent. You could literally hear the hum of the refrigerator. My mom stepped forward, looking confused. $12 million? Sarah, did you win the lottery? Why didn't you tell us? We're family. We could have helped you manage it. I felt a coldness settle over me. Not fear, just a deep, final realization. I didn't win the lottery, Mom. I built a company. For 10 years. While you were busy worrying about Rachel's hangnails, I was building an empire. Rachel let out a forced, hysterical laugh. An empire? You? You're the invisible girl. You're the one who works in a dusty shop. Mom, she's lying. She probably hacked someone's account or she's doing something illegal. I looked at my father. He wasn't looking at me with pride. He was looking at the laptop with greed. $12 million, he whispered. Sarah, if you have that kind of money, why are we living on that Marie legacy pittance? Why are we only getting $7,000 a month? That was it, the final straw. Pittance? I asked, my voice dangerously low. The Marie legacy isn't from a distant relative, Dad. There is no mystery estate. I am the Marie legacy. I've been sending you that money every month for 3 years. I paid for your house. I paid for Rachel's Mercedes. I paid for your trips to Maui. Me. The girl you sent to the basement so Rachel wouldn't get a sniffle. My mom gasped, clutching her chest. You lied to us? You let us think it was a gift from God while you sat there judging us? Judging you? I yelled, finally losing it. I was supporting you. I was the only one keeping this family afloat while Rachel found herself at the mall. And not once, not one single time in 10 years did you ask me how I was doing without mentioning her first. You didn't even come to my college graduation. You told me it was too far to drive, but then you drove 6 hours the next weekend to take Rachel to a concert? Rachel threw my laptop on the sofa. So what? You're rich. You owe us. We're your family. If I'd had known you had this much, I wouldn't have wasted my time at that stupid marketing firm. I want my share, Sarah. Half. It's only fair for all the emotional labor I've done for this family. The audacity! It was almost impressive. I picked up my laptop, my hands steady now. You want your share, Rachel? Fine. You've already had it. In fact, you've had more than your share. You've had my childhood, my parents' attention, and about $250,000 of my hard-earned money over the last few years. I turned to my parents. The trust fund? It's over. I'm calling my lawyers on Monday. The checks? Stop. The house payments? You've got 3 months to figure it out. Since Rachel is so talented and ambitious, I'm sure she can support you all now." "You can't do that," my mom screamed. "You're our parents. You're being cruel. This is financial abuse." "No, Mom," I said, walking toward the door. "This is a reality check. I spent 30 years being a ghost in your house. Now I'm going to be a ghost in your bank account, too. Don't call me. Don't show up at my office, because from this moment on, as far as I'm concerned, I'm an only child, and I'm finally an orphan." I walked out. I didn't wait for my coat. I didn't wait for them to finish their precious dinner. The aftermath was exactly what you'd expect. My phone didn't stop vibrating for 72 hours. Texts from my dad saying he was disappointed in my character. Texts from my mom saying she was having a heart attack from the stress. She wasn't. And Rachel, she went on a social media crusade trying to cancel me for being a greedy billionaire. It backfired, though. Once I posted the receipts, the wire transfers, the proof that I'd been secretly funding them for years while being treated like trash, the internet did its thing. Rachel had to delete her accounts because people were calling her out for the spoiled brat she is. It's been 2 years now. I haven't spoken to them once. Grandma Marie passed away last spring, and she left her entire actual estate, a small cottage and some beautiful vintage pieces, strictly to me. In her will, she wrote, "To Sarah, who was always the real diamond, don't let the dust settle on you again." My business is bigger than ever. I'm happy. I'm at peace. Sometimes I'll see a photo of Rachel on a mutual friend's feed. She's working as a waitress now, and my parents had to downsize to a small apartment. They look miserable. And me? I'm sitting on my balcony, watching the sunset over the city, drinking a glass of wine that I actually enjoy, in a home where I'm finally the golden child. My own golden child. So, to anyone out there being ignored by their family, keep building your empire in silence. Let them think you're a ghost, because the look on their faces when you finally materialize, it's better than any jewelry in the world.